You're listening to the Femcast podcast, the podcast for women who are truly ready to break free from toxic relationship patterns, choose themselves, and become a magnet for the healthy love they deserve. Let's do this. This podcast is listener discretion advised for mature content and coarse language. Whatever. Hey you guys, what is up? Welcome back to the show. I am so excited and grateful to have you here. I talk about leaving things till the 11th hour. So usually I like to have my episodes pre-recorded the week before. I know some podcasters do like a month or two before, but I just do a week before. But I'm literally recording this on the day that it's going up. It should have been up at 5 a.m. this morning. I'm recording it now at 8 a.m. It's just been a busy few weeks, and we just had the eclipse yesterday. I was really feeling the energy last week, although it settled down towards the weekend and it started to feel calmer. But definitely a lot kind of came up, and I posted a little affirmation on my Instagram. If that's something that, you think would support you, that's there. I posted it on Sunday, I think the day of the eclipse. And we're like a week away from the masterclass. So I'm super excited for that. I know it's going to be incredibly powerful. We're doing She Rises, which is basically helping you if you're recovering from betrayal or heartbreak, rise from the pain of that betrayal and heartbreak and really step into your power and unleash your full potential. So, and using that betrayal, the pain body experience really as a catalyst for your transformation. And this is one thing I always keep coming back to, like the stuff that causes us the most pain, the most upheaval, the most challenging emotional response is the stuff that really transforms us, the stuff that is really setting us free, the stuff that is really pushing us to evolve into this next version of ourselves. And so rather than avoiding it or trying to mindset our way through it or whatever, the power is really in moving with it. There's an old Native American saying, and I can't remember, I know I'm not going to do it any justice. But it's something about, the buffalo, never try, something about the buffalo never running around the storm. It always just runs right through the storm because it knows it's the fastest way to get there or the safest or whatever. Anyway, something to that effect. Okay. Consider, look up that saying and apply it to your emotional experience. Okay. I should have probably looked that up. I didn't know I was going to be talking about that, or I was going to mention that today. Okay. So let's dive into today's episode. So I wanted to talk about the number one boundary that you need to set after you've been through some sort of intense heartbreak or betrayal. Oftentimes, and myself included, I struggled to set this boundary. I really struggled to set this boundary, and there was so much wrapped up in it. And so we're going to unpack all that today. And we're going to talk about why it was so hard for me to set this boundary, and also why it ended up in the end doing more damage than the betrayal ever did. We have to, it was a powerful mindset shift in the end that kind of changed everything for me. So hopefully, that'll kind of support you if you're struggling to set this boundary. And the boundary that I'm talking about is cutting off communication and going no contact. It is so important. Especially when you've been through heartbreak or betrayal. I mean, I recently had to cut off communication with somebody just because, it was just, we were just staying too attached. And that's a whole different thing, what I wanted to focus on today was when we stay in contact or we keep ourselves open to communication with somebody who has done us dirty, right? Who's really, really hurt us on a deep level, who's really made us question our worth and how lovable we are, and how and our enoughness, right? All these things that we talk about. This person who has triggered our fear of abandonment and rejection, right? And not being good enough. So, um, that's the person that I want to focus on, even though I think ultimately, like, I mean, I think cutting off communication, depending on where you're at or how, you always have to, like, it's always very nuanced. I never tell anybody, yes, they always have to cut off communication with their exes. It really depends on your energy with that person. I believe endings can be amicable. Absolutely. And we can have conscious uncoupling, of course. But in the case where, you know, maybe there is, maybe there wasn't that conscious uncoupling. Maybe it was a very painful breakup. Maybe you did feel abandoned and rejected in the end, or not enough. In those cases, I think it's very important. If you haven't fully moved through that experience, I think it's very important to cut off contact. Okay. And we're going to talk about why. So, after I left my relationship, when, the betrayal happened, the betrayal was kind of going on for years. And so I had been letting go of the relationship for quite some time. And so when it finally ended, I felt ready to end it, to be quite honest, even though it ended not in the healthiest way. But I think, ready to end it. And I was ready to kind of move on with the next phase of my life. And when I say that, I say that with caveat, in the sense that, yes, mentally I was ready to move on and find somebody who would really love me the way I wanted to be loved. But energetically and emotionally, I had a lot of work to do before I would get there. Oh, yes. I would go through a never-ending stream of toxic partners that would push me to go into my 7-year relationship hiatus, where I would do the work on myself and heal all the abandonment and rejection wounds that were lying beneath the surface before I would be ready to really open myself up to a healthy relationship. So, ready, but not ready. So all that to say, the underlying self-worth, fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough, they were all still there. Even though I had energetically let go of this relationship, I didn't want this person back in my life. I didn't miss them. I didn't need them. I was excited to find somebody else who could love me the way that I wanted to be loved. But that not enoughness was still there beneath the surface, right? And so when we ended, and this was in a period of my life when I was just so adamant on showing up as the most confident version of myself. I was kind of feeling falsely on top of the world. Like, I just got out of this connection where I felt completely unloved and neglected in so many ways, and starved for affection and attention, right? And so in my mind, like, I was on top of the world, like the world is my oyster right now, right? Couldn't be farther from the truth. What if I'd known what was coming at me, like, around the corner? But, so, I was adamant on showing up as the most confident and empowered version of myself. And so, when we ended it, I didn't feel the need to break ties. I wanted it to be an amicable breakup. I wanted us to try and remain friends. That didn't work. Because, he was a very manipulative person in the end. And I think, the fact that the relationship fell apart, and the fact that, I chose to leave the relationship, I think it really did a number on his ego. And so, he in his own brilliant way, tried to kind of take some passive aggressive digs at me, and not digs, but, sort of intentionally going out of his way to make me feel less than. So this looked like, flirting with my friends online, on social media where I could see him. This looked like, posting pictures of his, best new life and all the things that he's doing that I wish we could have done together that he didn't want to do, but now he was doing with everyone else. This looked like, I mean, at one point, he actually, like sent me, I think I remember it was a message or a phone call. I'm not sure, but I remember him asking me about one of my friends that he had seen in sort of like my acquaintance circle. Like we weren't, it wasn't anybody that I was really close to at the time, but we were acquaintances and we were kind of like running with the same social circle and whatnot. And I remember him telling me, God, I don't know why I can't remember how he told me, but I remember him telling me like, "Wow, she's really hot," and I'd like to meet her. And I remember thinking to myself, "Oh, okay, well, why don't I just like introduce you and put it out there?" Because even though I felt this niggle in my stomach of like, ooh, like just like that feeling of betrayal. But in my mind, I didn't think anything of it because I was so done. I'm like, well, I don't want him back. I don't want to be with him. I don't miss him. So why wouldn't I? Like, and a confident and empowered woman would not have an issue with this. But the issue was so buried beneath the surface where, there was still this, see, you're not good enough. See, you are going to be abandoned. See, you are going to be rejected because you don't look like those girls over there. So anyone's just going to like bypass you and just go on to the next chick, right? There was that part of me that still felt deeply wounded and insecure. And that was the part that I was ignoring, right? And so I tried to do the cool chick thing. I tried to look confident. I tried to be in that whole, we talked about black cat energy a couple weeks ago. I tried to look black cat, unbothered by the whole thing. Yeah, I'm good. I got this. No skin off my back. I'm good. Not so not good. So not good. Underneath it all, there was so much unworthiness, so much not good enough, so much fear of abandonment and rejection. And as I went back out into the world and started like, connecting with and dating other people, those wounds started to get wildly activated, right? Because that was the work that I needed to do. So in a way, like the situation was kind of serving me because it was trying to flag my attention to say, hey, listen, honey, before you go out there and start like trying to meet people, why don't you deal with what you got going on underneath, right? Which I was totally avoiding. Totally. I felt the niggles. I felt the discomfort and I'm like, nope, I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to be confident. Everything's going to be fine. I'm going to show the world just how good I feel about myself. I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to do all these things. I'm going to create this, beautiful, fabulous life on the outside. But on the inside, I was just so wounded and so feeling so unworthy and not good enough that it didn't matter, honestly, what I did on the outside, And so what was happening as, we were moving through this experience and this went on for quite some time, right? It was quite some time before I finally said, you know what, I can't do this anymore. Like I need to just cut off communication and I need to just block them and not see what they're doing and not, they like, I just need to not let them have access to me in my life anymore, given what we've been through together. But that took a long time. And I think if I'm not mistaken, I think it was like, I think it was longer than a few months. I think it was a year or two before I finally did that, to be honest. And, as, the plays for attention and the plays for, showing up online and flirting with my friends or being interested in so-and-so, that kind of, that calmed down after the first initial few months, but the energy was still there, right? So every time they posted something and every time they looked like they were out there living their best life, I still felt that little niggle in my tummy, that little kick in the gut, right? Not because I wanted to be with them, not because I miss them, not because I wish things could have worked out, but because they were triggering that part of me that didn't feel good enough. And that's the part that I was feeling in my stomach. So every time they did something to trigger that part of me, whether it was, posting someone that they were seeing at the time or getting involved with, or whether it was, flirting with one of my friends online or commenting on how good looking one of my friends were. It didn't matter what it was, but every time they did something to trigger that part of me, it almost revalidated my unworthiness. See, you're not good enough. See, you're not pretty enough. See, you're not smart enough. You're not sexy enough. You're not this enough. You're not that enough. It just kept reaffirming this deeply inherited belief that I was not enough. And it compounded over time, right? It just kept compounding and compounding and compounding to the point where, when it was all said and done, I had a lot of work to do, and I don't think that it was all from that period. Obviously, I think that, there was a lot of damage done during the relationship and even before the relationship. And that's obviously why I attracted it in the first place. But, having it compounded like that in the end, really, it was really the nail in the coffin, right? And again, this was all because I didn't want them. I wanted to show up as the cool chick, unbothered, just completely unscathed by anything he did, and coming out on top and coming out as my best self and coming out confident, when there was real damage that had been done internally in my self-worth and how I saw myself and my worthiness in relationships. That was wildly damaged and needed a lot of repair, and I was ignoring it. And so, in the end, me wanting to look like the cool chick and trying to look unbothered was just me trying to make them believe that they not make them think that they won or something like that, or not letting them know just how hurt or damaged I was inside. I was trying to hide all that. And so it really all became about, when you break it down, it really all became about what they thought of me. And instead of focusing on, okay, well, what do I need? What do I need in this? What do I need to heal? What do I need to feel whole? What do I need to feel strong? And what I needed was to cut off communication. But the fear of cutting off communication was, well, what will they think? If I cut off communication, they'll think they've won. If I cut off communication, they'll think, oh, see, I did do a number on her. Oh, see, I did hurt her. Oh, see, she's not as okay with it as she likes to let on that she is. But it wasn't about that. It was about what I needed to heal. And so I needed to detach from this worry of what they would think and what everybody else would think, and just focus and just prioritize what I needed and let people think what they think. I had this exchange, it was a while ago, and I think this is when I made the connection of what was happening for me at the time, because this was like years later. And I remember somebody had posted a reel online and said, when somebody hurts you or does you dirty or does you wrong or whatever, this is how you want to show up, and this is how you want to act, and you want to act unbothered, and you want to do this and you want to do that. And I'm just like, and I wrote in the comments, like, why would you want to do that? Why, like they were trying to say, don't block them. You should stay in connection and act unbothered with the whole thing. I'm like, why would you do that? Why on God's green earth would you do that? If you are actually bothered, if it is hurting you, if it is making you feel less than, why would you subject yourself to that? If somebody hurts you, does you dirty or does you wrong, just cut them off. Who gives a crap what they think? What's more important is your own peace and your own well-being. And suddenly, as I'm writing that, I'm like, oh, that's what was happening, right? And I can remember, I don't think I was conscious of it at the time. When I cut off communication, I just remember there was a clear moment where I was like, nope, not today, Satan, not today. I am not going to give you, not that he was, not him, my mindset, my beliefs, my worries, my fears, my unworthiness. I wasn't going to give that. Hold that thought, you guys. We're going to come right back to it. But before we do, I have something really special and exciting that I cannot wait to share with you guys. If you've ever been lied to, betrayed, or cheated on, you know that kind of heartbreak doesn't just break your heart. It breaks your life. And I know because it happened to me and I was completely blindsided by it and I was devastated by the pain. But what I've since learned is this: that kind of heartbreak can also be a portal, a doorway into the most powerful transformation of your life. It's the moment that you get to rise into the woman that you were always meant to be, but were probably keeping on the back burner. That's why I created She Rises. Heal from cheating, reclaim your worth, and rise into your radiance and power. This is a free, live, 90-minute healing and activation experience for the woman who's ready to alchemize the pain of heartbreak, betrayal, into unapologetic power, radiant confidence, and deep, 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 deep self-worth. Look, I've been there. I have cried on the bathroom floor. I have questioned everything from my life and my future and wondering if I'd ever feel whole again, if I'd ever be able to love again. And I did. I found the path to healing and I found the path back to myself. And I became the woman who I always dreamed I would be, but never really thought I could. And now I guide other women just like you to go through that exact same transformation, from heartbreak to healing, from betrayal to breakthrough, and from self-abandonment to self-reclamation. And this live event is your portal. This is your moment to finally say enough. Betrayal does not get the final word. You do. So sign up for She Rises today. You'll find the link to register waiting for you in the show notes. All right, that's enough, you guys. Now back to today's episode. I wasn't going to give that space. And by letting him constantly trigger that for me, you know? So I blocked him. I blocked him on social media. I blocked him everywhere I could possibly block him. So then I didn't have to see what he was posting or what he was doing or who he was engaging with or any of that anymore. And it wasn't because it had nothing to do with me being hurt or missing him and not being able to see him online or wishing I had him back. It had nothing to do with any of that. And it had everything to do with I just don't want to reinforce this idea that I am not worthy anymore. I don't want to reinforce this fear of abandonment or rejection anymore. I want to give, I just wanted to give that part of me peace and not accept, what do I want to articulate here? I don't know why I'm having such a hard time articulating this. It's not even about accepting. It was about not wanting to give the opportunity for that to be torn down repeatedly anymore. You know, ideally, I'd love to get to the, at that point, I would have loved to get to the point where, I really was unfazed and unbothered by all of it. But, I had a lot of work to do until I got there. Right. And so this is what I didn't want to accept, letting this pattern, reaffirm the already very tragic beliefs that I had about myself and my worth in relationships. I just didn't want to reaffirm that anymore. Right. And I didn't want to accept a situation that would consistently reaffirm that again and again and again. And so what he thought of me and what everybody else thought of me became secondary. And finally, the priority became me and what I needed to heal and what I needed to create, the peace that I needed to cultivate for myself in order so that I can do the healing that I needed to do and mend my heart. And that was really the first time I really started to take my power back from that connection and say, you know what? How I feel is more important than how I look. And so I'm going to prioritize. I'm going to choose me and I'm going to prioritize what I need to heal versus what everybody else is thinking or saying about me behind my back, And that was really the first and most powerful step. And it was really creating that safe container to say, no, I'm not available for things that make me feel unworthy, because on a soul level, I knew none of that was true. I didn't need to feel unworthy anymore. I didn't need to fear abandonment or rejection anymore. And my soul knew that. And so it wasn't going to accept being in that situation anymore, of having those thoughts or having those feelings or having those fears activated over and over again anymore, because it knew that nothing could be farther from the truth. But it came down to finally not giving a crap what anybody else says or thinks, especially the one that, cheated on you, betrayed you, misled you, whatever. Don't give a crap about what they think, and give all your focus and attention to what you need. And I think, when I look back, that was probably that first pivotal moment where I said, no, I get to choose me here, and not, I get to choose me, and I get to prioritize me, not what everybody else is saying or thinking or feeling. Right. And so you have to, we'd all love to get to the place where we get on, where we're completely unbothered by it. Sure. And again, it wasn't about being bothered because I wanted him back, or I missed him, or I regretted, how the relationship ended. I could not be happier to be out of that connection, to be honest, once the time had passed and everything, the dust had settled on that. I think the part that, again, that I was really struggling with was the damage it had done to my self-worth and my confidence and my worthiness, that the worthiness that I held about myself, when it comes to being in relationship, and that fear of abandonment or rejection. So, that needed to be the priority. It desperately needed to be the priority, and everything else took a backseat to that. And so, I say this to say, staying in that pattern of wanting to look like the cool chick, of wanting to look unbothered, of wanting them, I'm not going to let them know that they won. I'm going to look like I don't give a shit. I'm moving on with my best life. La da 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 da. When deep down, it's reaffirming these hardcore limiting beliefs that you hold about yourself over and over again. You are doing yourself so much damage, right? Because now you're just reaffirming everything that heartbreak and that betrayal ever triggered in you, and you're just reaffirming it again and again and again, and you're leaving yourself vulnerable to be betrayed further. You're leaving yourself vulnerable because even to the manipulation of, the mind games he was playing with me of, because it was very, I do believe it was very intentional, because he must have known on some level that I would see it, so even just leaving yourself open to, especially if it was a very toxic relationship, leaving yourself open to further manipulation, and these mental mind games and attacks that sometimes, manipulative and toxic people like to play, to make you feel, to trigger that part of you that they know fears that they're going to be abandoned or rejected, whether they're doing it consciously or subconsciously. Jury's still out on that. But the point is that you just leave yourself so vulnerable to so much more damage by trying to play the cool chick, by trying to play the unbothered chick, by trying to make them think, oh, you didn't win. You didn't hurt me. You didn't damage me. I'm good. That's the mental shift I want you to take from this today. Who gives a shit what they think? They've already done you dirty. They already hurt you. They already betrayed you. They already misled you. The important thing in all of this is, what do you need now to heal, to come home to yourself, to feel whole again, to really and truly, not just pretend, but to really and truly feel powerful and confident again, and not drain your energy every time you see them post a photo with somebody else, or engage with one of your friends, or like one of your friends' posts, or any of that, that people love to do online, just to take a dig at us, right? What is more important to you? Is it looking good and looking cool and looking unbothered? Or is it actually creating the container that you need to do your best and most powerful healing? Because, like we've been saying again and again each week, these things don't happen to us for no reason. They are trying to help us to evolve and transform in the most powerful ways. And if you keep getting sucked into the pain story, the pain body, the pain experience, you're not going to be able to evolve and move through to the other side of whatever this experience is trying to bring in for you. The transformation, the change, the expansion that this experience is trying to be a catalyst for. You're going to completely keep yourself stuck on this hamster wheel of pain and trauma and betrayal and delay getting to the carrot on the other side, because you're just going to keep reaffirming to yourself every fear, wound, and limiting belief that betrayal triggered in you. So please, if you find yourself in a situation where you've been betrayed, heartbroken, misled in a relationship, and, whether it's painful now, or maybe it was painful and you feel like you've moved through the pain, doesn't matter. If there's a part of you that is wounded, that is not feeling good enough, that is not feeling worthy, that has that little niggle of, fear of abandonment or rejection every time something happens, or they post something where they post a picture with somebody else, and suddenly, like, even though you don't want them back, you feel like a sinking feeling, like, oh my God, like, why is he happy with her but not with me? Why is he doing all the things with her that I wanted him to do with me? Why can he do that with me? Was I not good? Like, even if it's happening subconsciously, you can feel it. You can feel that sinking in your stomach. Every time you're in a situation where that's happening, cut off communication, cut off access. You do not need to see what they're doing. You do not need to see who they're engaging with. You do not need to see what they're posting. And if somebody has hurt and betrayed you, they certainly don't deserve to have access to you. Just saying, right? Just saying. Or to see what you're doing or what you're up to. So just cut it off. Cut it off. Let it go. Your healing is more important than what they think of you. Your healing is more important than any assumptions or judgments that they are making about you. What you need is your priority in this situation, not what you think they'll think. Okay? So, how can you choose yourself today? How can you cut off communication, put those boundaries in place so that you cut off contact, cut off access, cut off their ability to reaffirm and compound the limiting beliefs and fears of abandonment and rejection that you're already holding so deeply within. They do not need to be reaffirmed. What you need to do now is create that safe container for healing, and that needs to be your first priority. And if they choose to make that mean something about what, like, their worth in some way, which, you know what, I mean, you have to be, he would also have to be a very insecure person to use this as validation that he's in some way better than you, worthier than you. If he was going to let this, you blocking him kind of somehow boost his ego and thinking, oh, look, I did do a number on her. Oh, I did hurt her more than she let on. Oh, see, she's not as confident and put together as she likes everyone to think. Who cares? Let him. It's no skin off your back. Like, this is the person who, you've been through this betrayal, you've been through this heartbreak with, so that you can transform and evolve. Let what he thinks not matter. You are evolving into something, who knows what this experience is bringing in for you, right? And who knows what it's asking you to step into. You worrying about what he might or might not be thinking, or letting it get to you what he might or might not be thinking, is only betraying you further, because it is keeping you from all the greatness that is waiting for you on the other side when you fully accept and allow the transformation that is literally knocking at your door. And that's why it brought this betrayal and this heartbreak to your doorstep. So don't do yourself that disservice. If you've been through the pain of betrayal and heartbreak, make it mean something. Don't focus on what he may or may not be thinking. Who cares? He's the one who hurt you in the first place. Focus on where this is taking you and how it is asking you to evolve. And let that be your greatest fucking revenge. Because I'm telling you, it will be. Right? Rather than pretending to be okay and cool now, your greatest revenge is what's waiting for you on the other side of the transformation if you let it. Okay? That is all for today, you guys. I will see you on the next episode. If you love If you loved what we talked about today, please let me know in the comments or email me at maria@thefemcast.com or femcoach.com. And let me know what you took away from the episode and what kind of really stood out for you. I always love to hear from you guys and hear what's resonating and what's not, and how we can talk about things that are going to make more of an impact for you. And obviously, if you love this episode, please leave a positive rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever the heck you're seeing this. Okay. Until next time, you guys, massive love.